Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video, let us learn about events in Node.js. In Node.js, all operations that we perform are first registered to Node.js as events waiting to get triggered, either by the main application or by the requests. This, if you recall, we had discussed in the previous video. Now we know that Node.js is single-threaded in itself, so all the code that we run gets executed on the main thread, but we can support concurrency in Node.js by using the concept of events and callbacks. Now as a side note, Node.js uses the observer pattern. So the main thread maintains an event loop, and whenever a task gets completed, it fires the corresponding event, which then signals the event listener to execute. So let me explain this with the help of a diagram. So incoming request, then we have our event emitter, which I will discuss shortly. Then this emits the event. Then we have the event listener, and this is what is set up by us, so the developers. And then the event listener invokes the attached callback function. So let me circle them. So Node.js, as we discussed, is event driven, so it embraces events, and it is one of the reasons why Node.js is pretty fast compared to other server-side alternatives that are available to us. So let us understand the steps that happen in serial order. First, Node.js starts the server. Then the next thing that it does is that it simply registers the variables and functions, and then it simply maintains a watcher to listen for the events that occur. So in an event-driven application, we basically have our event loop that is constantly listening for events, and then it triggers a callback function when one of these events occur. So most of the Node.js core modules that we will discuss in the upcoming videos are built around the event-driven architecture. Now in Node.js, there are certain objects that are called as event emitters that emit the named event as soon as something important happens in our application. Now by important, I mean, for example, like a HTTP request hits the server, or let us say we just finished reading some file. So such kind of events are then picked up by event listeners that we as developers set up, which then triggers the callback function that are attached to each listener. Okay? So enough of theoretical stuff. Let us see the built-in events that are available to us through the events module and the event emitter class that Node.js exposes to let us bind events and event listeners. So for this, let us create a new file in the node demos folder and name it as node-event-emitter.js. So in here, let us first import the events module, const events require events. Now we will see what a module is later in the course, but for now just think of it this way, that a module is something that exposes certain functionality which we can use wherever we need it by just importing that functionality from the module. So here we will use the events module, which is a core module that Node.js ships with. So right here we are first importing the events module. Next, let us create a new instance of the event emitter class. So const event emitter new events dot event emitter, like this. Now in order to bind an event handler with an event, we use the following syntax. So we say event emitter dot on, and here we specify some event, and as the next argument we specify the handler, right? So next thing that you need to remember is that you can also fire an event. So for this, the syntax is this. So firing an event, event emitter dot emit, and you specify the event name, so some new event. So this is the syntax for firing an event. So now let us write some code to see the event emitter in action. So let us first define a function that simulates a simple connection. So const make connection, and inside here let us first log to the console making the connection. And then in here, let us add a set timeout. And right after 5 seconds, it should log to the console connection made. And then right next to it, let us emit an event and name this event as connection developed. So for emitting an event, we can use this syntax. So let me paste it right here. Let me uncomment this. Event emitter dot emit dot emit, and the event is connection developed, like this. So for this we are using the emit method on the event emitter instance that we had created just a while back. So the event emitter dot emit will add the event name, which is connection underscore developed. So now let us go right at the top and add our event emitter that listens for the connection developed event that we are emitting right here. Let me also add an invocation for this on line 16. So right at the top, let us now listen to the connection developed event. We need to use on method. So event emitter dot on, and then as the first argument, let us specify the event name that we want to listen, which in this case is connection developed. And once this event happens, let us trigger a callback function. So function, and in here, let us log to the console, connection is made. And now in here, let us create a payload and name it as some data. So const some data, and then let us add an ID field. So set this to math.random into 1000. And then let us create a message property in here. So let us set this to secret 123, so any random message. So let us now send our prepared payload, which is the sum data object, by emitting an event. So let us name this event as data send. So event emitter dot emit data send, and send our payload, which is some data, like this. Now right here, let me make up some space, and in here let us listen to the data send event. So event emitter dot on data underscore send, and once this event occurs, let us trigger a callback function, and as an argument you will receive the payload. So function and payload. So we will receive the emitted payload right here, which we are sending right here. So now let us do a couple of logs inside this callback function. Let us first log to the console some data received, and then let us log the payload to the console. So console.log payload. Now finally let us log to the console end. So now let us give this a whirl, head over to the terminal and run the command node-event emitter.js. So it first says making the connection is made, then again it says connection is made, some data received, then our payload, and then it says end. So this was all I wanted to cover in this video. If you liked the video, do give it a thumbs up or comment down below if you have any query. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the very next one.